Hello, welcome to Once Upon a Surgery. I'm the host, Carrie Burlett, wife of world-renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Anthony Burlett. This is the season 3 premiere, and I have a new face. This is going to be such a fun episode. The old me is going to talk to the new me, and so we're going to have this conversation between old Carrie and new Carrie. And you'll also see my consult with Dr. Burlett. And now we'll do a post-op kind of recap of everything too. So let's go to the two Carries. So Carrie, why did you think that you needed a facelift? So it's an interesting question. And I did get a lot of reactions when people heard I was going to do this, of people saying, oh, you don't need the facelift. But, you know, for the last year, I've been doing this podcast, and I could really sometimes see some angles where I would see this double chin that you don't see when just in pictures all the time. And then sometimes in pictures too, I started to notice some things. And especially when we had that fashion show, I was trying to, walk and have the serious look like I used to do back in the day when I modeled. And I couldn't really capture that same expression. I looked angry. I had these jowls. And, for some of the poses too, I used to be able to, make these pouty faces, which I can make again. But what happened is just over time, my face had really elongated. And it was those faces, that bothered me. That on top of the fact that I have seen tremendous work that Dr. Burlett has done. I know how talented my husband is. And I've seen plenty of gorgeous models, celebrities, cases that he's done where people just look stunning. And, I had full confidence that I was going to have a positive result. I didn't realize it was going to be this good, but that was kind of, especially you just start to notice once it's on your mind, and it wasn't really that I had this bad neck, but it was really more the jowls. And it's also interesting. I told a couple of women who were older than me in their 60s that I was going to do this, and they really have not had any work. And they were like, you're so smart to do it now, because they said, if we did it now, everyone would know. And I thought that was interesting, which, again, obviously I don't care. I want everyone to know. But I know there are a lot of people that like to, keep it secret. And that is a lot of beautiful people that he has done. They want people to think it's natural. And, everyone has their own, choice. But for me, I want to be very public about it because I think this is amazing. And I don't want people to be afraid to take action early. All right. So Carrie, I think a lot of people were very nervous with you as a plastic surgeon's wife going into this. Why do you think that was? I mean, they've seen him do good work on other people. Why do you think in particular you, that made them so nervous, that thought? So I think people were really nervous because they just imagine a plastic surgeon doing surgery on his wife and that he would be crazy nervous and, I would look like a freak or, wouldn't do a good job. But they didn't realize, he's had done a facelift on his mother. He plenty of family, plenty of, close friends. And again, I'm the wife, maybe it's a little bit different, but I had full confidence. It wasn't the first surgery he'd ever done on me either. He had done my upper lids many years ago. And I think it's also, I think I have a pretty smile. And so I think people were worried that I would look like this, pulled freak. And they couldn't believe that, knowing that I didn't necessarily look, crazy old. I still looked good. I had fat injections that I think really had helped my cheeks. But there was still this other part that, gravity had happened, the elongated lip, those jowls. And again, the whole plastic surgeon doing surgery on his wife really makes people nervous. But actually, I did have some comfort. Literally, the weekend before he did this, we were at an event and sitting next to a couple, and the guy was a plastic surgeon, and he had done 2 facelifts on his wife. And she was like, sleeping with your plastic surgeon has its benefits. And she said, also, no one will take better care of you than your own husband. And I fully agree with that. So, Carrie, you've interviewed plenty of people. You've heard about the process. People claim it wasn't painful. Would you say you agree or don't agree with that? So as far as the pain, the real pain just comes when he's numbing you. That's where, because then he blocks everything. And then I think I had a couple ouches during the surgery. Again, it's a little blurry since I was on the Valium. He can speak to it, but I really didn't have much, pain during the surgery or really after. It's totally tolerable. And I was awake the whole time, and we actually filmed it. And my friend watched it and she couldn't believe, you were awake when he cut open your lip. And, and we also, the woman filming it was pretty fascinated too. She's a doctor herself, but had never seen a deep plane facelift or a lip lift before. And she was that was intriguing to her. And so we will have to talk to Dr. Brilette about that. But as far as the pain, I would say it's more uncomfortable than pain is what you feel. All right. Now, Carrie, you have the benefit of having your husband, basically your plastic surgeon, right, on call at night. What was that first night like? So the first night, my head was wrapped, in this thing that, Tessie a few weeks ago had said, you look like Kenny from South Park when you have that thing on. And you do. For me, it was that was uncomfortable, and it bothered my ear. It felt like somehow my ear was folded. And one nice thing, and I will give some tips in terms of little hacks for during the recovery. I spent the night, we have these fancy massage chairs, and because you had to stay upright. And so I slept in that massage chair, but the wrap was just, I couldn't hear. And so that was just uncomfortable. And then the next day was when my lips just looked enormous, scary. You'll see these photos. And I guess what happened was, Dr. Brilette had done the SMAS with me, and he wanted the bottom lip to be so perfect. It took him 3 tries. So he had caused additional trauma. So I had these lips, and they were massive. And one thing was, when he had just wrapped me up and completed the surgery, he made a comment to me, "Oh, you look more like Katiana now." Now, in my head, then the next day I have these crazy lips, and I'm like, you did an experiment on me. You made me, what did you do? Trying to make me look like Tatiana. It was I had a 1 day of doubt because I had never seen anyone with as horrible lips during their recovery as what I had. And then, of course, I was able to comb them out. And they started going down, but it was a gradual process. It took longer than I thought. And so now we're at 20 days post facelift. And now I'm loving these lips. They're little, I have my heart-shaped lips back. And, I am happy. It was that those first, especially, I guess, I hate the plastic surgery looking lips that people have. And that really comes when people don't have an upper lip and they put filler in it. Then you just have this filled duck thing that is still not a lip. And then what he did with this, he shortened my lip and gave me an upper lip, but I'm not I'm filled with SMAS. There's SMAS, threaded, but it's going to continue to absorb and go down. He says that everybody always wishes that the lips will go back to where they were when they were overly filled. But this is, to me, a more natural look, than that duck-like filler. And I was really afraid of that when the surgery just happened. And I knew people would think, that's the plastic surgery lips. But I knew that was, it was early and they were going to go down. It's crazy that I went out to a masquerade party 3 days after the surgery. I had combed out all of my bruises. That's a thing. Also, if you didn't know, you can comb the bruises. It was an old trick people knew when they had hickeys. You can spend, and I had time on my hands, and so I just sat there insanely, combing the bruise, and you'll see the day after day. But then it's funny because I could literally get rid of all the bruises, but then during the recovery, a new bruise will pop up. Even though you get rid of them all, then the next day it's like whack-a-mole with the bruises and the comb. So it was actually pretty funny. But as everything settles, even today that I had a little bit of small color in the face. But again, I'm only 20 days out, and this was a huge surgery. So it's pretty remarkable that at 20 days I can be sitting here, but I was actually, out and about after day 3. Now, Carrie, did you follow the whole routine that he gave you? All of those, vitamins and drugs and, the whole process. Do you think your husband would consider you an easy patient or a more difficult patient versus everyone else? So I did follow everything leading up to the day of surgery. I was a perfect pre-patient, and we'll get him on and he'll talk about me the day after. He said that I was, first of all, I'm bopping around like when I get home and I'm supposed to be like, very still, not turning, everything. I was supposed to be a lot more chill than I was. But I didn't drink. I went 2 weeks without drinking. I, followed all of, took all the supplements, ate all the foods. But I would say post-surgery, I am not the best patient, especially that day with the lips. I will admit I had a drink in my hand when he came home and was like, "What did you do to me?" And he really wants you, to not drink for 2 weeks after. And that didn't exactly happen with me. But, in terms of every supplement that could possibly help my recovery and, speeding up my recovery as quickly as I can, I am a good patient that way. And so now just at 3 weeks is when you can actually start using the scar cream. So I'm going to start that tomorrow. And it's been a gradual progression. And I actually have a lot of tips that I want to share in terms of some of my little techniques that I used to depuff myself as quickly as possible. All right, now, Carrie, looking at your face now, are you happy with the results? Is this what you expected? What are you thinking in terms of, do you need something else? I am thrilled with the results. I mean, I didn't think that he was going to, take like 10, some people say 20 years off of me. With this process, he cut 2 inches off my face. And I mean, I'm really happy, and it's still, as he says, he would prefer I even be waiting to do this, but I'm like, I'm good enough. This is so good. I can't hold back any longer. And so as far as like, I'm happy with this, I still, in terms of other plastic surgery, I still want that tummy tuck. I don't know if I'll ever get it. But he's noticing that he could do a little fat grafting in my temples just to soften them a little bit. So that might be next. And also I need it in my ears because I've had this like earring hole stretch out. So I think I'll do some fat grafting will be the next thing on my list. But as far as what I expected, the new face, people that see me are just blown away. They like can't even process it because it's like literally like I was put in a time machine pretty much. All right, so Carrie, what were your kids like after you did this? I know you had to go to a swim meet. How was that going with a big bruised up face? So the kids, of course, kids are just honest and harsh. And, I had combed out the bruises after 3 days. And you kind of like are lost in like the swollen, like, world that you're in. And you forget kind of that you still look swollen and you're thinking you're starting to look good. And, my kids hadn't seen me in a couple of days. They walked in the door and Tatiana was like, "Oh, I forgot that you were going to look weird." And I'm like, don't say like that. Like, you got to be nice. And every day it got better and better. And then the kids do. My son was like, we trust Tony completely. And, he saw me improving. He did say at the swim meet, "What's going on with your nose?" Because, I had this lip lift. So I had, it still is like, we'll still be healing those scars where the stitches were, between my lip and my nose. And the swim meet, again, I felt just compelled to announce that I had a facelift because I was still, going through some swelling. And inside that pool, it was hot. So I was like, this is 10 days after my facelift. I'm here at a swim meet. And, no bruising, but like by the end of you felt like you were in a sauna and you felt like your head was like ready to explode. And I will say it's a little bit going through the recovery. It sometimes is like Groundhog Day because, if you're upright all day, then, the swelling can kind of go down. And then I'm someone, I was sleeping upright for the first, week leading up to the swim meet. But then after that, then I was like literally in a face plant. And then, you get swollen. Like you're swollen pretty much when you don't have a facelift in the morning. And so you go through that. And so then, I felt like you look more normal, by the end of the day. Whereas like, except at that swim meet in the sauna and this like, I was really being cooked and, it felt uncomfortable. And like, especially I could feel like sometimes some tension in my neck. And I discovered this technique where you can kind of massage some of the swelling down to your lymph nodes. And so I was constantly like doing that, but then you could feel your lymph nodes kind of swelling when I was at that swim meet. It was a lot, but I survived. Okay, so Carrie, I know Dr. Brillet had mentioned you had some asymmetry with your eyes, right? Like with the eyebrow, and like that this eyebrow lift was supposed to help that. Do you think now when you look in the mirror, do you see that it's more balanced? Are you happy that you went through with that? The eyebrow lift? Yeah, so I think the eyebrow lift was amazing. It definitely opened up my eyes. He does think that he can actually, with the fat grafting, also do something with my lids to help to balance it even more. But it's definitely like these eyes pop more than they ever have. Like my eyebrows now kind of have a little bit of a different angle. And so I'm happy that I did it, and again, like we will continue to heal with, the scars and whatnot. Like it's basically, look, this is where the scar is. This is like 20 days. It's crazy. He did such a good job with the stitches. It's very, very, like it's almost invisible already. So definitely worth that. And really happy with the results. Okay, so you mentioned this face, right? That you used to like, and that now you have bigger lips. What do you think? Are you happy with the lips? Like, that's the big fear with plastic surgery, is getting those overdone lips. That's where it starts. So yes, I can now, basically before I could not make a neutral expression without looking angry. Like now, it's like a look I used to have in my youth. It's crazy. I can't believe that I can do this again. And it's interesting. I just saw Cameron Diaz posted something about how she's not going to have any plastic surgery, and she may look old, but at least she knows that, her face is her own or whatever. And I was just thinking about that, and like, I get actors and actresses not wanting Botox because that can limit your expression, obviously, and you need to look certain ways. But it also really depends how you age, because as I was with that face, like, again, as I'm just like, if you're trying to act and have a neutral scene, and you have these jowls, like you look old. So it's a little bit of a challenge. So maybe, she's aging in a better way than I was, but, and kudos to her. She wants to remain natural, to each his own. I'm happy that I got to turn back the clock. Okay, so now in terms of Dr. Brillet, would you recommend this procedure to other people? Absolutely. I would definitely recommend this to anyone. I think now I am going to be the new face of Brillet plastic surgery. A lot of people were waiting to see how this went. Let's just say that. A lot of people were really scared for me and really had this idea that I was going to come out like looking like this, freak, like the old school facelift Joan Rivers back in the day, overly pulled. And I'm very happy with the results. And, again, anyone who is looking at their jowls and that long lip and, that long, face that's aging downwards, I would definitely recommend they consider Dr. Brillet. He really is the best. And I was not surprised, but what a good job he did. I was not surprised that I feel that I look, natural. I've seen it, over and over with plenty of my friends, again, models, celebrities, people that want you to think they didn't have work done, but I know they had work done. And I've seen it through the years. All right, now, Carrie, I know it's a slippery slope as a plastic surgeon's wife. Do you see yourself getting more surgery in the future? So, yeah, like we talked about, it's the fat grafting is going to be next for the upper lids and the temples. He wants to just soften it. It's very subtle now how he does it, where he spins it with this nano fat. and the earlobes. And then if I can really pressure him, maybe. All right. So Carrie, the new face of Brillat plastic surgery. I'm going to let you close out the episode. We're done with this old face, Carrie. On to the new face. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was really fun for me. It was fun to revisit the old Carrie with the new Carrie. And I just wanted to share a few tips that I found helpful during my recovery. So I already talked about the combing. That was big. You'll definitely want to have, the Aquaphor, the Bacitracin, and Arnica cream. Like I'm just like lathering them on constantly, even though I don't know if like putting extra really helps you. But that as I'm combing, it's gentle combing because you don't want to, be giving yourself a rash or anything, but you can literally, it's quite satisfying, comb out these bruises. And then I started giving myself face ice baths, and because you're so swollen, and so that would actually feel good. And he was kind of, you could feel the swelling going down, and then I started adding green tea to the ice bag, like just putting in a couple of green tea bags, and I felt that was helping me even more. One thing you don't want to do is take a bath. I had a moment where I forgot about that, and I did an Epsom salt bath, and it was like, that was not good. It causes extra swelling. So don't do the bath, but do ice, it's refreshing. And then you can even take the green tea bags out, and it was kind of fun because you could feel it almost like deflating the swelling, and then I would see like a bruise form, and then of course I would have to comb the bruise. So and that plus like really sleeping upright. If you don't have one of these massage chairs, I would get one of those they have facelift pillows, or even one of those travel pillows that you can put around your neck. Because like there was a day when I just had a bad night of sleep, and I early on, and I went and took a nap in a face plant, and it was almost immediate. Like, you just have so much swelling. And, during the process, it's just interesting. Like, you have days where certain things feel tight, especially if you do the thing with your lips, they kind of tingle. And that's when they're tingling when they're going down. And so it's a good thing, and it's normal. One more thing, I did really find that it helped when I was just massaging both my lips and my face. You massage it up and then down to your lymph nodes, and then, you can kind of like feel it. And so you just do that repeated motion. And I did feel that was helpful as well. And then of course you definitely want to do the follow-ups. You get the stitches out a week after, and, you're unwrapped after day one. Again, like he says, you're restaurant ready with makeup in 2 weeks, but I can say, again, I may be the exception. If you want to obsessively comb, I was out in public. I didn't hide after this. It is interesting. You have to get to learn to use your new lips. I've been known to smoke a cigar here, and when I first tried, I was like, "Ooh, that straws." It's a whole thing, but I'm back. That's good now. So it's all coming back. It's just getting to know the new face, and those are the big ones. And again, following the protocol. This post surgery, the Arnica. It is nice to take, and that plus the bromelain, which is just the ingredient in pineapple, which also I had pineapple popsicles, figuring the bromelain and the coldness when I had my giant lips. Eventually they did come down. I don't know if it wasn't like helping. I like instant gratification. It didn't happen as quickly as I wanted. The lips are, for me it was really, now we're at 20 days, and they're still going to go down more from here. But at 2 weeks they were looking more normal, and now I think I'm at a point where I feel good. All right, so now we're going to go back and look at my consult with Dr. Brillat from 20 days ago, and he's going to talk about what he was going to do. And then we'll get the post-op Tony, and we'll talk about how the surgery went and how I was, and everything that he did there. Okay, Dr. Brillat, I'm 51 years old. Let's talk about what you're going to do to my face and why.
So It's always a difficult question if someone says to me, what do you think I need? Because, nobody needs anything. It's what they want. And so, and then, of course, I think you're gorgeous. My bride.
Thanks, babe.
But so then what to do? And I know you've been thinking, this is getting a little heavy through here.
Yeah, I see it with
Just
like
early.
the podcast,
Just
right?
early. The neck's beginning to go a little bit. And when you do that, you get a lot of that stuff going on when you're turn to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So we can,
sometimes when I smile, so when I smile too, I see like doubles.
yeah, so we can fix all that because it just brings it up a little bit. It's elegant, it's subtle, but that'll bring that up. And as we get older, the lips get a little longer. Yours is beginning to get a little long.
I've noticed that. Do you think that mine, because I know gravity, right? So everything's we're aging, everything's kind of coming down. And so do you think, and people don't think I need a facelift. I smile a lot. And when I smile, I generally don't think.
We all look better when we smile.
Right? We all look better. But you can't see the longer lip.
Yeah.
And what, do you think because I smile a lot, that's why my lip is, or what is it? Or it's just how I particularly
It's part of the
age?
aging process.
Okay.
The issue with the lip, and it's not crazy long, but a little bit. It'll bring it up a little bit. It'll give you just a little more fullness through there. And you've had fuller lips when you were younger, I think, right?
Yeah, I always had, that was the thing, is I had these heart-shaped lips. And I also used to be able to make this face that I thought looked so pretty. And now it just
Pulls down a little bit.
kind of looks old.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't look old, but it just pulls down a little bit.
Right? But it's not the same, when you think you're looking it's not the same look. Not that it matters that much. But again, I do, I've seen what you've done with the lip lifts. And I just have, it's like that upper part. My lower part's still okay, right?
Yeah, so in resting position, just open your mouth a little bit. So your teeth are completely covered now. And you're really supposed to have a couple of millimeters of show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's what it comes down to.
Huh. And you mentioned, so you're going to do a lip lift and then the smaz too?
I think you should.
And where does the smaz go, upper or lower?
Both.
Both, okay.
But a smaller one in the upper, bigger one in the lower.
But so then am I going to have...
When you pick the upper bigger one, the upper lip up, it's going to be bigger. So then you need to balance it out with your lower.
Okay. But I'm not going to look like those freaky duck lip people, right?
I hope not. I have to wake up to you every day.
Have you ever over smashed someone and had to take it out?
No.
No?
No. We all lose volume.
Okay.
So,
right.
it's a modest amount, but it's an opportunity to take it while you're there.
Okay.
So you might as well.
Right. But so you
might be
literally
a
have
little
never
bit.
had anyone think that you put too much of this in my lips, the smaz.
I always think that the first 2 weeks.
Well, the first 2 weeks you'll be swollen, right? So
Yeah.
then when do you start to
It's about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks you start looking pretty good.
in 2 weeks? Okay.
I mean, some people have no lips at all, so of course they always look better right away.
All right. And then you mentioned one other thing which I had not thought about, and then now since you've said it, so the brow lift?
Yeah, the brow is mostly to do with you have some asymmetry in your eyebrows. Your right brow's lower than your left, and your right lid's lower than a little bit different because of that.
Yep.
So it's maybe an opportunity just to do a slight lift. It's very modest. It's more of a lateral lift like that.
Okay.
So that's what's going to do it, and hopefully we can balance it out a little bit better.
Okay. But that you said is going to cause a lot of bruising.
Well, it'll cause some bruising in your upper lids.
In my lids?
Yeah, because you're dissecting all the way down over the orbital rim margin, upper superior orbital rim, and so that gravity puts it into the upper lid.
Well, so then it starts in the upper lids and then it'll go down, right?
Yeah, everything goes down.
That's the bruising. Oh, great.
Yeah. And your décolletage will also have some nice bruising to it as well.
Why?
Because that's where it goes. It goes south.
So it's so eventually my toes will be bruised?
Never checked, but possibly.
No, when people say, aren't you so nervous to be doing this on your wife? But I know you've done your mother, you've done, multiple family members, close friends. Does it make you any more nervous that it's me?
I mean, maybe some factor there.
Because I know you mentioned, you can go under. And I'm like, I know you say the better facelifts are if you're awake.
Yeah. But it's mostly to do with my ego. I don't know. I mean, I'm having a hard time finding anybody for me, which I God,
Right.
God knows I need something.
Right.
So I don't. I feel the same way about you. So.
Right. I remember your mother used to say, Tony, just grab me like from the bottom, like lift my skin up and tie a big knot on my head, right?
Yep.
Just a whole
She said,
body.
put the crank on, and I'll wear a wig.
Right. That's the goal. All right. So I'm excited for this.
I know you are. You've been talking about it nonstop for the last.
I know,
2
because it's like
months.
literally like once you have in your head, now every day I'm like, now I'm on the regimen, preparing. So,
Yep, you've given up alcohol.
Yep.
Proud of you. Proud of you.
And now, and like, so that I'll have scars for a while, right? Like, what's the general?
Well, you're not going to be able to wear your hair back for several months,
Okay.
but it should get there. You have very fair skin, so it should heal with a nice scar.
Okay. Because
And we
it'll be
hide-
like white, right?
We hide them well.
Yeah.
Right along the hairline, and then inside the ear,
I see.
behind it, and then right along the hairline here.
Okay. And because it's in front, in it there, right?
And behind.
Okay. And is this, someone asked, it's a deep plane facelift or no?
Yeah, it's such a
Or does you wait when you, as
easy
you do?
area.
Okay.
I obviously work on the deep plane and I dissect it pretty aggressively, but I don't keep the skin attached necessarily.
Okay.
Which is what it means is they call it composite versus bilaminar, and I think if you really want to take care of this area and into the neck, you need to release all this area anyway, so that it only increases the patch through the midface, which I think is better if I can pull it together inside, because it keeps it full.
All right. Very exciting. All right. Here we
Alrighty.
go.
Here she is.
Wish me luck. All right. So here we have the man, my maker, Dr. Berlin.
God knows who we have here. I don't even know who you are anymore.
So, first of all, let's talk about the procedures, okay? So, on me, you did the lateral brow lift, a look lift augmented with SMAS, and a deep plane facelift, right? So, first thing, talk about what that brow lift was versus, when you do it the other way.
Well, you can do a brow lift where you're in the hairline and you release the entire periosteum, release it across the brow, and then you'll reposition it higher. So it's more of a vertical lift. I kind of like to bring the tails down. I'm always afraid of the vertical lift because it really changes you. You can really look like a deer in the headlights.
Really? Ooh, like
Yeah.
permanently surprised? Or
Yeah, kind of. Or
Really?
just something's off. It doesn't look right. It's a tail or whatever you say when
Yeah.
it's a definite. This person had surgery, and you don't want that. You don't want that.
Right. No, and I mean, like already, like this, you did a great job with the stitches. Like it's like those are
Yeah.
on the side of my face, and this is 20 days, right? And
Yeah.
like they'll literally be invisible. Like you didn't change my hairline. I have the same hairline. That's always a sign you were pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes a bad facelift, they change their hairline. Right.
Well, in the past, the incision used to be in the hairline, right in front of the ear, back behind, and back into the hairline. That would limit you quite a bit.
Yeah.
It would limit you from future facelifts
Okay.
because every time you did it, your hairline was slowly going back.
Right.
Before you know it, they had to wear their hair a certain way because if they didn't, they had a mohawk under there.
Oh, wow. So now talk about the deep plane facelift. What made it a deep plane?
It's a controversial subject because the original deep plane facelift, the skin was still attached to the deep layers.
Okay.
This one is, even the deep planes they do today, they typically release the neck quite a bit. They have to because you can't rotate this up. But you're rotating the deep tissue in this direction and you're mobilizing it extensively. The difference between a true deep plane and what I do is that you have an attachment of skin in this area right here, like a quarter size, that you leave intact. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same operation. I do an extensive SMAS dissection,
Okay.
release the ligaments, and rotate the face up.
So where does the smaz come from?
The SMAS is the translation is submuscular aponeurotic.
Yeah, so where
System.
do you take that from? Like where in the face is it?
It's below the subcutaneous layer.
But I'm like, where, like anywhere in the
The
face?
SMAS goes basically from here, and it's contiguous with a sheet muscle in the neck called the platysma.
Okay.
And that's all released. I lift the whole thing up
Well,
and mobilized, and then the SMAS gets rotated this way, and the platysma gets rotated back.
okay. Wow. A lot that went on. And so then, where are the scars?
The scars for you are right along the hairline in the front of your temple here.
Right, I know that.
Underneath the sideburn, up inside the ear,
Okay.
under the earlobe, behind the ear, and then back along your hairline.
Okay. And so, like this thing so you were sewing stuff into my ear.
So there's a piece of cartilage here called the tragus, and you have to make sure you don't lose the continuity of that.
Oh,
Because once you do that, it's another giveaway for a facelift. And oftentimes people pull it tight, pulls
Okay.
forward,
Right.
sort of disappears. So you lose that definition of the ear.
Okay, interesting. And then finally, with the SMAS, so you've taken it out of my face, and then you thread it through. What is it on? Like I'm imagining like this like worm thing on a needle.
Similar to that, we use something called a tendon passer, which is
Okay.
what you use for hand surgery.
Okay.
So you actually would go into the tendons running grommets in the finger called pulleys, and if you get a cut tendon, you can chase it down and grab it and pull it through, and that's a
Okay.
tendon passer.
Okay.
So it's convenient to be used for this, just effective. So we create a tunnel in the lip. We cut a strip of this SMAS that looks like a worm.
So how do you create the tunnel with that tool?
No, with a scissor.
So you like literally
And
cut.
just basically spread
Okay.
and elevate a
So
plane.
you cut open the lip and then
Small incision on either side and tunnel it through.
got it. And then with me, it's because it said 3 times because you wanted it to be perfect, right? And so that caused extra trauma.
Well, I wanted it to be perfect, but it wasn't. I didn't go through 3 times because I wanted it to be perfect because I wanted to get it through. And
Oh, I
it wasn't
see.
going through. So
Oh, okay.
we were getting caught.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I had to release the tunnel 3 times, and so a little trauma.
Right.
Hence,
Because we had actually we had literally had the conversation. I'm like, are you sure no one's ever thought they had too much SMAS? You're like, no one's ever regretted it. No one's ever before regretted it. And I was like having my doubts when I'm looking at those lips after day 1.
I know you were giving the side eye for like 2 days. It wasn't good. I was feeling I was in trouble.
And so what was that? So now let's talk about, you can talk about me as a patient and then doing this on your wife. Was it what you thought it would be? Was it more, were you nervous?
Well, as you know, I did facelift with my mother, my sister. I did eyes with my brother. So I'm used to operating on family.
Right.
So I didn't think about it quite as much. And I think in retrospect, when I saw how angry you were at me the first couple of days, I was thinking like, wow, I don't think I measured the depth of the trouble I could have gotten into. So,
Imagine if it was not just the lips.
that kind of reflected back. I guess I had unconditional love from my mother and sister, and I thought maybe you weren't so unconditional anymore.
Condition on a good facelift.
You mess me up, I mess you up. But yeah, so it was a little concerning. And I thought, well, ramifications, obviously you're doing the show, and
Yeah.
there's a lot to be there, and I didn't even think, I must be a bonehead or something. But I did not really think about it, like the depth of the trouble, the ramifications of what could have been. But fortunately, I don't have to.
Well, I had full confidence. It was just the lips. I'm like, of all the things, I always hate the bad lips. And then I'm like, what? And again, I'm very happy now, but it was just the healing process scared me a bit.
And they're still full.
And they'll still go down from here, right?
It's 21 days. 20 days?
20 days.
20 days. So
Yeah.
it's really nothing.
Yeah.
This is, for you to look this good, it's unusual.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're way ahead of the curve for the most part.
Do I just but do you think my combing and all of my lathering of Bacitracin and massaging and whatnot, do you think that's part of it? Maybe. Or also, I was thinking, I am younger than a lot of people. I've had, again, model friends
really.
younger than me. But, it's
No,
just.
I mean, a lot of that combing, I mean, let's face it, you balance that out with a martini in between. So let's be honest. Like, okay, you may have been a good comber, but you were a bad girl.
Do as I say, not as I do. Right.
Right. Well, you were obsessive about the rest of it. I'll say.
Yes. But I was thinking, because again, these women were saying, oh, if you do it at the young age, people won't notice. But I was also thinking probably like any surgery, like a knee surgery when you're younger, right? You have usually a better outcome than a knee surgery when you're older. Is it like that too? Just with like the skin laxity or whatever?
Well, there's no question that if you're younger, your skin has more elasticity to it.
Yeah.
It's going to redrape a whole lot nicer.
Okay.
And you had also had fat grafting before, so
Right.
It had sort of as your face sort of migrated down, it already sort of fell into place, and then rotating everything into place really gave you those beautiful cheekbones and the balance.
Yeah.
And you have your mid face. It's all the fat pads are all connected now.
I think I had a better outcome because I had already had the fat grafting too. Because like immediate, like this is crazy. Whereas with other people, if they haven't had the fat grafting, you'll just do the lift, right? But then they still need the fat afterwards.
Yeah, I prefer not to do the fat at the same time.
Right.
But I don't mind doing it before or after.
Yeah.
And it's your perfect example.
Right. It might be interesting, like maybe doing it before and people.
Yeah, I don't know. I still like to be able to put it through your temple and
Right.
brow a little
Right.
bit,
Well,
so.
we're still going to follow up with that.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah. So, all right. And any other words, like stories you want to share about me and my recovery? Oh, I think there was a question earlier.
I don't know if I want to share them.
Let's see. There was a question earlier. During the surgery. I mean, and again, you're loopy on Valium, right? I don't remember. Like, I remember just a couple times being like and then being numbed. Like during the actual surgery, did I have any moments of pain?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's really, once you get numb, it's painless.
Right.
But you have to get to that point.
Yeah, but it's the numbing that's like, oof. Right.
Unpleasant.
Right.
But you did great.
Yeah.
I was very proud of you.
Yeah.
I was very proud of you until post-op day one. Well, actually, until we got home. And then you had like a reverse effect. She was bouncing around. She would not get out of bed.
You mean I would not get into bed?
You would not get into bed. You wouldn't stay in bed. You were bouncing around like you're and a reverse effect. It wasn't good.
Well, and that thing on my head, I felt like I couldn't hear.
Of course, I'd be the first one to be blamed.
Right.
Well, how'd you do this to me?
But that thing on my head, I felt like it was like in a weird place with my ear. You couldn't hear. That was frustrating. But it was only uncomfortable. It's not like anything hurt.
Yeah, well, no one likes the first night.
Yeah.
You know, it's, once you get that out. But there's no drains.
Yeah.
And once you get the thing off, it's
Easy.
much easier
One
from
day
there,
you're
right?
unwrapped. Yeah.
You just have probably a lousy night the first night. But
Yeah.
And some people sleep fine, but
Right.
you weren't one of them.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, I am thrilled with your work. So cheers to you.
I am thrilled that you're thrilled. Because I don't know, it might not be possible to live with you.
I think that you may be getting a few more, customers now as a result of this work. So good job
That would
to
be
my
great.
love. And
Cheers, man.
thank you very much. Thank you for my work, and I look forward to more.
No, you look great. You look great. Super happy.
All right. Well, all right, let me have a sip. I hope you enjoyed this unique episode of Once Upon a Surgery. The two Carries. We brought back old Carrie prior to the surgery. Now we have the post-surgery. What's next? This is going to be an exciting season. Be sure to subscribe, comment, like. I'd love to hear your feedback.